So, I mean, we've talked about J. Cole on the show quite a bit. We've done 2 album reviews and a mixtape review of this guy now. We've done a first listen. We've covered J. Cole pretty extensively. I have some brief thoughts regarding the retraction of this diss record, the diss record itself, and my feelings on the matter. Which, Mel, you're welcome to, debate if you disagree, but this is how I feel.
Okay.
So the record came out pretty much right after we recorded the ASAP review with Jesse. And it's funny because we just had that conversation, and I see people are talking about, oh, J. Cole dropped a surprise album, and oh, he's dissing Kendrick and all this stuff. Now listen, at this point we've covered plenty of Kendrick and Drake as well on this show. And I can say that I'm not part of like the fuck J. Cole meme train, I guess. Like, I do think he's got merit. There are some songs that I think he's good on and I like. There are some songs I think are extremely clunky and I don't like. I'm not here to litigate my experience with any of these guys. What I'll say is, overall, my interpretation of all of them right now is I think Kendrick's best work is behind him. I think his best work is To Pimp a Butterfly. I've talked about it on, the ASAP review. I was talking about my relationship with his catalog. Drake, I think his best days are behind him. I kind of thought Cole was on the upswing because I think The Off-Season, was that the name of the album? The last one?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was maybe his best studio album, at least from my rating standpoint, so far. Still wasn't touching like Friday Night Lights, which was a 60.5 for me. But the fact is, like, other than Truly Yours 2, which is an EP, I don't think any project of his is getting higher than a 60.5 as of right now. But I did see him, on this feature run and whatnot, and I was thinking maybe there's a possibility he could be on the upswing. He really blew his momentum by dropping this project with this diss specifically. I did not like the Kendrick diss as a record. I did not like the Kendrick diss as a diss. It was a 6 to me. This shit was like a 4. His shit was really whack to me. But it is what it is, He did something, I guess. Maybe some would argue it was better off if he did nothing. But here's the thing. Cole got washed on record, and he wants to retract, in my opinion, now that he's been the laughing stock of the internet all weekend. He realizes he made a mistake and apologized, but only after he was ridiculed for about 48 hours straight. So if people said he bodied Kendrick, I promise you it would be a different story, and he wouldn't be doing this. That's just my opinion. I have, a feeling that this is more of embarrassment than actual shame. He's trying to be like a gracious loser, and he's using that, as Mel calls it, the aw shucks Cole personality as a shield, instead of just saying, Kendrick, you won, I gracefully bow out. I'm not going in for round 2. So, let's call it now. But instead, he's going as far as to saying, I want that track removed, I lost sleep over it, etc. I'm not going to sit here all day and litigate what is hip-hop, what is not, and, the competition aspect of it versus, like, being a mature adult and not playing into it. Like, there's all these takes flying around the internet. My ultimate final take on this is a move that was triggered by shame and mainly embarrassment, not shame that he hurt one of his friend's feelings. But I think because he has this personality, that's an easy scapegoat. That's an easy excuse for him to go to and say, I feel so bad, and maybe he didn't mean any of it. But at the end of the day, would he be reacting this way if everyone unanimously was like, King Kendrick is dead, all hail J. Cole? I don't think so.
And I do disagree, because I think because of that very same, aw shucks, man, All Shucks Cole, I think, would have done the same thing in the event of people praising his response. He would have got on that stage and been like, I was thinking about it though, man, and I love this guy. My heart wasn't. It'd be the same speech. I do think because he's such a just quote nice guy. I think he would have retracted it still. I'll put it this way. Because I haven't, because I don't want to engage with Twitter or the timeline. I have a hip hop podcast. I try to keep my rap opinions contained to this podcast. But, we don't usually discuss current events unless, we're in the news segment, which is not present during Rab intermission, which you're currently in, or it happens to just come up during the course of a review.
Mm-hmm.
The timeline wouldn't like my idea because it's kind of like yours in that, or my stance rather, is look, Kendrick hasn't made a good album since To Pimp a Butterfly, which is a great album. I think Cole knew he didn't really have an angle with that in the diss. Yeah.
So why did he say it? I mean, again, these are choices that you make. If he's all shucks, why did he release it in the first place?
Because he got gassed up.
And well, then again, what is he, like a child? He can't control his emotions?
Look, I thought the same thing. Here's the thing. I'll just pivot to that really quick because I'm just going to read what I told LJ on Facebook.
No rapper owes you a diss record. If someone disses you, now keep in mind, this is a response to First Person Shooter, though, the Kendrick verse, right? So there were subs on there towards Kendrick. He never apologized for those, right?
No. Now, these subs about, people being steppers, people like, oh, Mr. Morale and the big steppers. I don't know. Steppers is kind of just a word to refer to people in rap and outside of rap. It's plausible deniability there, but I could also see how it could be looked at as a sub.
Did Kendrick just diss
him
for no reason?
Because Kendrick is an aggro kamikaze Tasmanian devil kind of rapper. That's his role.
But was there plausible deniability, I guess, on his end that he may have felt threatened?
Sure, yeah.
By a verse that you could make some connections, let's say.
Sure, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, here's the thing. As far as Cole retracting his diss and apologizing, this is what I told LJ on Facebook. I'm just going to read it. In reality, there's nothing wrong with the apology. Ultimately, as a man, you got to make sure your conscience is clear and do what's going to allow you to continue living with yourself. I get it and support it. Sadly, it's the win of it all that's got him looking crazy. I wish he'd sat with himself and reached this clarity beforehand. All of this could have been avoided. If he didn't let the world peer pressure him into releasing a half-hearted diss in the first place, then came out and gave the exact same speech to explain why he's not going to feed into the thirst for blood by responding, that would have been ideal. Alas, he stepped outside of reality and into rap world, where they're not going to let him pivot back quietly, let alone live this down. You hate to see it. The too long didn't read of it all is you live and you learn, sure. So he apologized after the fact. But if you're careful, which ties into this, aren't you an almost 40-year-old adult male? Why are you not, arriving at this conclusion beforehand, before you act? But if you're careful, you can choose the order that you do those in, meaning live and you learn. You don't have to live to learn. You can try to learn before you lived, aka act.
Do you believe that he loses some credibility as a result of this?
Yeah, unfortunately, because we're talking rap now. Yes, we're talking rap. We're not talking reality. In reality, as a man, it's an honorable move.
He might be a great guy, but we were in the thick of all this WrestleMania media in the last week, and CM Punk going on Helwani and talking about Tony Khan's a great guy, but he's a horrible businessman.
Right.
It's a different conversation when we're talking about the craft. Versus,
right, you're an honorable man in terms of why you're making this decision, but you're a bad rapper in making this decision. I think
that's
it's not a good move as a rapper.
And both things potentially can be true at the same time. You can think that this move is so pathetic and cowardly and pussy on that level, but still respect him as a man because this, why are we going at each other if we don't even have issues with each other?
And you can tell in the diss that he had a hard time finding an angle because it's I don't really have any ill will towards you. I don't want to do this.
Then just don't do it.
Exactly.
That's my answer. And he's an adult. He's not a rookie in the game at this point. He's supposed to be, one of the big three. So,
well, especially after
he's not moving like it.
This branding of the past, you could say ever since Forest Hills Drive, so 10 years, where he's this more measured Zen-like Cole, the hungry guy has kind of given way to a wizened Jermaine who thinks before he acts. And he said on stage, like, this reminded me, it didn't sit right with my spirit. It felt like, years ago when I was, and it's like, well, sure, but why then did you not realize this before you jumped out the window? So my stance prior to all this was, Kendrick hasn't released a good album in 9 years, in my opinion. Drake.
No, but he hasn't lost credibility as, like a competitive rapper or a technical rapper or anything like that,
Yeah, they allow him to pop out and throw these tantrums because they like Damn. I thought Mr. Morale was
They
fine.
love these tantrums. It gets them fired up. It's like the peak of, he drops Mr. Morale and it's like mixed opinions from people, but he drops a diss and it's like, oh boy, the king is back, and they just start glazing again. So
the terminology of the day, the kids, it's dick riding, dick eating, glazing. I'm tired of all the words. It's why I don't like, me. We've had phone conversations. I've told the chat this, much to their chagrin. They just won't accept that I've been wholly disinterested and not really invested, because it's just a lot of flailing and posturing. And it's like, this doesn't mean anything to me. It makes me question how much, we've had these conversations. It's like, do I even care about him anymore?
This is rancid beef. And we very well may, and I mean we, not as in Moles and Mel, but as like Hib and as a culture in general, maybe giving a little bit too much attention to what I view as like kind of engagement farming tactics by rappers. Like, this is fake. It's so fake. It's just, we're trying to inject the shit with some energy. It's like, oh, hip hop. They're saying hip hop is dead.
It needed this. It was too buddy.
Yeah, it's like, all this shit. Man. And it's like, listen, in all reality, you guys are making a scene for no reason. And this WWE shit is corny as fuck. Like, you guys are all marks, and this isn't doing anything long term to get, because again, the problem isn't that people aren't. Yes, we always talk about, we miss when things were more competitive, when people wanted to be the best rapper alive and everything like that. But the real issue that we're seeing, the reason why music kind of sucks right now, isn't because people aren't beefing with each other. That's not the solution.
Look, man, they hear all this fucking, dissing and
Hold on, I'm gonna keep talking, but I'm gonna grab my meatballs real quick.
This man got meatballs. Folks, all right, we're here now, so
listen, I'm just gonna fucking say what's on my mind.
It's a lot of embarrassing activity, not from just the rappers, but from their respective camps of stands, and I'm gonna just wait till Moles gets back, because I'm sure he's gonna want to chime in on this. But you know what? Do I have this laying around? Let me see. Hopefully it's not too long. I'll just play it because this was oh no, this is like 8 minutes. I don't want to play all this. Maybe I should. He's gonna be eating meatballs. F it. We're here now, okay? All right, folks, this is audio. Are you back?
I got meatballs.
Okay, are you gonna eat the meatballs right now? Because here's the thing. I realized I have audio that I put in the chat from the day, a couple days after We Don't Trust You came out. That will explain my feelings.
That I call We Don't Like You.
Yeah, it's 8 minutes. I wasn't gonna, but if you're gonna be eating the meatballs and you don't want to rush, enjoy your meatballs. I'll just play this so they know this is what I told my friends. So you got
an 8-minute voice note?
Yeah, here it is. This is
entertainment while I eat a meatball.
Exactly.
We got 3 meatballs here. I'm gonna eat them.
All right, well, here you go. Soundtrack to your meatballs. Daniel Ochoa, aka the biggest bozo, creator of the Hotline theme, asked me, he's like, yo, a few days after We Don't Trust You dropped, he's like, yo, you've been quiet. What say you? This is what I told him.
I just gave a 5-minute message about, my opinion, but apparently Skype is fucking broken. So, look, I mean, this is it. Honestly, I don't actually care about all of it. I just feel like it's 40-year-old men beefing over what exactly? everybody involved is corny to me outside of J. Cole, and that's simple math because J. Cole doesn't have anything to do with it. He got dragged into it. It's like Metro Boomin to me is a twerp. He's always been a twerp. He's a like weirdo, tweet deleting, stone throwing, hand hiding, award whining, it ain't no beef when it obviously is, ass nigga. Like that's his whole MO. And it's like he fell into his own mythology and like branding. It's just like his albums suck. So that's him. Then there's Drake, a guy who is washed, and I say that as a stan. His best days are behind him, and he's always suffered from latent insecurity. His ego has been shot since 2015 and 2018, respectively. And, it's like he's always, all he does now is like make songs shitting on women and turn the auto-tune on because he doesn't care to practice his actual vocal capabilities anymore. He doesn't even perform in his own concerts. He literally puts the mic on the ground and lets the crowd rap. Like, he's done. He's a gambling degenerate Andrew Tate adjacent ass nigga now. Like, he doesn't really have anything to offer me anymore. He can't stop fucking people's women. That's the other thing too. If that is what this is about, like, Future and him sharing some bit, like, it's always about a woman with him. Look at the history. Common, Serena Williams, fucking Meek, Nicki, supposedly. Maybe Ye, Kim K, supposedly. All his beefs are Chris Brown, Rihanna. It's like, it's always about a woman with him because he's always fucking people's women. And listen, I told you I'm a Drake stan enthusiast. I know this nigga. He fucked Wayne's girl. That's the man who put you on when Wayne was in jail. Like, he can't be trusted, like, he is who he's always been. Admittedly, it's just now he has enough money that he doesn't have to care about his image anymore, as evidenced by him just like, it's free Tory, it's fuck Meg, it's just all this shit that like he doesn't need to do but does now because apparently he's not afraid of anything anymore. That's him. He's weird in this situation. Then there's Future, a guy who's been massively overrated based on admittedly high highs when his lows massively outnumber those highs. He doesn't have a single great album to his name. He has classics in a cultural sense. DS2 is a classic. It's undeniable. But the thing is, he doesn't have any great albums, like front to back, that are great, and his whole MO is it's like, yeah, I'm toxic, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He's still on this Sierra thing. I fucked a pop star. First of all, let's be realistic. Sierra is not a pop star, okay? She's a B grade pop star if she's a pop star. Probably C grade. She's like above Rita Ora, below, the real pop stars like the Beyoncés and such. But whatever, like, he's weird. He's 40 years old still acting like he's 26 in the club. Then there's Kendrick, like this oddly aggressive guy who like has positioned himself as a savior for years, just abandon it in favor of, if you let him tell it himself and his inner issues, which great, I support that. But then you want to pop out and start shit all the time. You haven't made a great album since To Pimp a Butterfly. It's like, what is your deal? It's always like, oh, it's for the sport, it's competitive, but you're not really about that because you don't say no names, just like Drake don't say no names. Ain't nobody said a name. He ain't said a name since Control. At least he said names there. But even then, it's like, you're not serious. Because what is your... That's the thing, too. We don't know... Even if I wanted to take a side in this, we don't know what this is even about. None of these people have ever concretely told us what all this is about. What are they beefing about? All we have is speculation. Nothing was ever told to us for sure from either party about, between Kendrick and Drake about why they have problems, other than being, at the forefront of the rap game. We don't know behind the scenes what happened. It's a bunch of speculation we have. Why do Drake and Metro Boomin have problems? We don't know. We speculate it's a woman. It probably is, but none of them have confirmed it. Drake and Future, we don't know. Now Kendrick's attacking J. Cole for no good reason. It's the whole like, oh, I'm shooting at you and whoever's next to you thing. It's ridiculous. Okay, it's ridiculous. If I wanted to take a side, I couldn't because I don't know what they're fighting about. It's ridiculous. Like, I assume if Drake doesn't have, or if Future and Drake don't have beef over a woman, then it's Future backing Metro because Metro's his guy. But it's like, okay, I guess we're crashing out over, malnourished producers who love smelling themselves. The Push and Drake thing. It's like, if you want to say, okay, he's shooting at Drake because he's been shooting at Wayne since the mid 2000s over Bape. And it's like, you know, so I'm shooting at Drake because he's next to Wayne, or it's because Push is close to Ye, and Ye's had this weird thing with Drake because he's insecure in his own right, because Drake and Kanye are the same person in different ways. But it's like, what is this even about? You know, what is this even actually about? Let me know when we know what this is about. It's just all speculation. They're all weird right now outside of J. Cole, and they're all weird in their own way. Like, I really just feel like everybody involved, like I honestly feel like I'm getting too old for the rap game antics. You know, it's just, that's what this, it's just more rap game antics. Like, the world is falling apart. You people are 40 years old. Until you let me know what this is about, and I need to know this is about something worth fighting about, because if this is over strippers, or like you're mad that the light skinned guy has been running rap without, you know, serious opposition for so long, like that's not a real problem. I don't care, you know. They all look ridiculous. I would almost understand if they were, you know, in their 20s. It's like, all right, young nigga shit. They fighting over young nigga shit, but they are all too old to be doing this. All of them are too old to be doing this. And we don't know why they're doing it for sure. And another thing, I mean, I heard the album. Prodigy is likely rolling over in his grave, being co-opted like this for this ridiculous, obnoxious, we don't trust you gimmick. Like, you know, and you might ask me, it's like, well, you know, you didn't feel that way when Drake samples Pimp C all the time. Well, here's the thing. He did make a whole album around sampling Pimp C, you know, in his interviews and every other song. Number one. Number two, you know, Drake actually knows Bun B and is friends with Bun B. I don't see Future or Metro hanging out with Havoc. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. It's a lot of posturing and obnoxious, like, you know, it's ridiculous, man. Like, I don't care. Like, they all just, I don't know. Honestly, that's my opinion. Fuck these rappers. Turn these kids fighting for their life in this rigged tournament back on. That's how I feel.
I was referring to the March Madness tournament. So there you go. That's what I told my friends a few days after We Don't Trust You came out. And, you know, my updated viewpoint is, well, now I have to throw J. Cole in there with the rest of the clowns, because he ended his momentum with an unnecessary project with this Might Delete Later, which isn't great. I thought the offseason was better. I know you said that the offseason was like I'm more of a Cole fan than Moles, for any new listeners. So I don't think the offseason was all that great. For Moles, that was like his best studio album in a while, but it was cool. It was better than Might Delete Later to me. I only like 4 songs on there as it stands. So he released a mediocre project that included this diss that's now been retracted and apologized for. And yeah, to me, it's like, well, if you're even still a part of the big 3 at this point, you're firmly in third and you're never moving ahead after this. You are bronze forever and always, and you killed the momentum of this like vaunted feature run of yours. It's like, now you look like you belonged in the position that people would put you in all these years because of stuff like this, you know? So there's a guy who, honestly, I think COVID killed Drake's momentum in a lot of ways. I think that's when he really became alcoholic Drake and a bunch of other armchair psychologist things I don't want to get into, but he hasn't inspired me since 2020. And For All the Dogs sucks. First album of his, you know, you heard it in the voice note. I'm a bigger fan of Drake than the other 2 guys. It goes Drake, Cole, Kendrick for me. Meanwhile, I think Kendrick has a 10. Drake doesn't have a 10 for me. So it's complicated, as most things in life are. I like them all, not equally, but I appreciate them all.
I've been here the whole time, by the way. I was just eating, and now I'm back.
Yeah, meatball style. But yeah, I mean, look, For All the Dogs sucks. The only Drake album to date that like outright sucks for me. Like, he's been on the decline. This confirmed it. Cole was the only guy kind of still ascending. It's like, yeah, he's been killing these features.
Maybe there's a chance that he'll actually drop a good album by my standards. And I mean, I heard the full Ain't No Delete This or whatever. What's it called? Delete This Later?
Might Delete Later.
Yeah, it was 12 tracks. I thought the diss was the worst track on there, actually. And I liked, I think, 4 or 5 songs out of the 12. I mean, not good enough. Especially, you know, for a project like that to come out after a 1.5, 2-year long feature run where everyone's praising you and saying that you're better than ever. I think you kind of hurt your momentum now by doing something like that.
You dropped a mediocre stopgap project with a diss that you then don't want to claim.
You're now going
to
take it down, which, I mean, I don't look, we're in a TI review, so I'm not going to spend 45 minutes to an hour talking about that aspect of it specifically, because an apology is one thing, but the fact that he's turning this thing into lost media pisses me off, and I don't have enough time to get into it. But that's my feeling on it. I just feel like, you know, perhaps things would be different if he wasn't being soundly ridiculed by everybody for this.
Yeah, and I think he would have had the same speech because he's.
It's possible. I'm not saying. Look, I'm not saying that I have any intel that makes me right and you wrong, but I truly believe that he was more shook by the response that people had to the record than, because the record, he didn't really even say anything that bad to him.
He didn't. You know,
that was what people were criticizing him for. So the apology is extra goofy to me. But again, I just, you know, I could be here all day on this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to let myself get worked again.
Well, look, my final notes are, you were working very hard on Wax, changing the narrative on you the past few years, where people were starting to even entertain if you were the sole survivor. Kendrick's not around enough. Drake's falling off. Maybe you were the one the whole time. And then you do stuff like this. So you'll be bronze forever. F that. You know, you might have dropped out of the 3.
I really think if that.
You know, and it's a shame. Look, I do love Cole. You know, I've cried to Cole. You know, I like him way more than you do. Like, his music means something to me. I'm still going to listen to him, obviously. That reminds me, as we were recording earlier, Daniel with a classic comment, Styles, who might be a bigger Cole fan than me, said, I might rip my Cole poster on camera. Daniel said, just fold it. Which is, yeah. I mean, hey, I support that. Enough of all these extreme actions, okay? Don't act like you're never going to listen to Cole again. Just say, yeah, he made a dork of himself and we'll move on. But, yeah, he ruined all his momentum. Now everybody looks like a clown. Only other thing, I didn't say it when I was talking to my friends, but something I realized after the fact. Future, you look stupid because your whole brand is you hard on hoes and they for the streets and you don't care what they do, but you're supposedly beefing with Drake over a stripper?
Well, unless that's a work and he's on the new album. So
I don't believe that conspiracy theory.
That's the Jesse theory, which we don't
I've seen other people say it.
We don't have time to. Well, he's been pushing it specifically. And if that happens, I think you know, it's exactly what I said it was. It's basically this engagement trolling and engagement farming bullshit. Like, don't play into it.
Yeah. Speaking of what you were saying, this is it. Hey, while you're apologizing for that, Cole, how about we apologize for some of the, you know, transphobic stuff? You know, like what are we still doing? Like, I didn't make excuses for you when we didn't make excuses for you when we did the Born Center review on the Illuminati, and you.
Well, there's a simple reason why he didn't apologize about those bars.
Because he doesn't see reason to.
Because he's not sorry about those bars. He was kept up at night by a very mild jab at Kendrick Lamar. Not any of that stuff. Because in his mind, it's just a rap line.
You know.
He doesn't care.
Right. It was a clever way of bringing that Skepta clip that's floating around, I had never heard that before. Look, we often talk on this show, you know, about like, obviously, misogyny is bad. Transphobia is bad.
Absolutely.
Homophobia is bad, but we say like good homophobia, meaning if you're gonna do that, make it amusing. That Skepta song, Man Dem in Disguise, is funnier than anything Dave Chappelle has said in the past however many years. Okay, if you're gonna be, just make it like that because that's insane. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the big 3. You know,
so you're still going to check for Cole Chappelle, is what you're telling me.
What, as an artist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking
But
forward to
you know,
more transphobia bars and more
no, I don't. To be clear, I don't listen to him for transphobia bars. I'm just
and
saying,
more
like,
of
I'm holding him accountable. We must not be irrational. I heard it just like everybody else did. I wouldn't rap that. I don't think he should have rapped that. You know, so I'm calling attention to it. But yeah.
Now I will say, if you're disappointed in the fact that J. Cole is transphobic potentially, you're going to be really disappointed to find out about like 85% of these rappers.
Yeah. You know.
Some of whom are actually, engaging in sexual intercourse with trans sex workers and then saying horrible transphobic and homophobic things on record. Isn't that crazy?
It is. And my stance, if you're not ready to live your truth, fine, but don't try to, bury people because you're insecure with yourself. Imagine that. Imagine being transphobic and that's what you like. Come on. Anyway, there you go. If you were wondering what Mools and Mel have been thinking about the whole
and to the
thing,
people who are like, how come he didn't apologize to No Name? Simple. He has no relationship with her prior to that situation.
I think she had been on like a Dreamville thing. Like they knew each other, but
they weren't
not,
on the terms of Kendrick and Cole, who at one point were considering each other to be their contemporaries and they're one of their closest collaborators.
All right. By the way, that lady harbors an anti-Semite, so like I don't want to hear about these rappers. Okay,
She harbors one.
What'd you say?
She harbors an anti-Semite.
Maybe that's not the word. Hosted. How about that? She hosted one.
Oh, okay.
And then when people called her out on it, I forgot what she said. Listen, she is not your savior. She removed Gypsy from her name in an act of good faith, but she is not your savior. Okay. Anyway. There you go. There's a hip hop tangent for y'all. We're in Bring
This will
'Em
be
Out,
great.
right?
You'll chop it up a bunch of different ways, throw it up all over social media. All the marks will weigh in, and we'll get rich. Right? Isn't that how it works?
Oh yeah, the marks. Okay, yeah, I had things loaded for the marks. How about this?
What is it, real?
Okay, stop it. These Kendrick stands, these Cole stands, these Drake stands. Okay. Oh yeah, I told him,
Listen, I'm just going to fucking say what's on my mind,
and that's what we did. And I think a lot of y'all entertain this stuff because you're just like,
anything that'll make me forget my life.
Okay. Y'all are starved for content.
Now, I don't talk about this shit on my Twitter page because
that's what I said.
I did call him a fucking coward, but I don't get into the minutia of it all and get into the weeds with people over it. It's just...
It's not the venue. Twitter has never been
This
the venue
is very
for
much
anything.
the venue, unfortunately. And I mean, as long as people care about this kind of shit, I feel like it just naturally comes up. But if I wasn't doing this show, I would not be entertaining this bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, Drake sent out Cole because he's scared, and Kendrick got everybody shook, and everybody's... What's that?
You said Drake's an alcoholic?
Well, he is, but no, I said he sent out Cole because that's
Drake's
what they're
saying.
No, Drake sent out J. Cole because he's scared, and Kendrick got everybody shook.
He sent out J. Cole.
Fan fiction. Like I said, it's just all this fan fiction, and everybody's so scared of Kendrick.
Oh, sure. Okay. Okay, Mark.
All right. Tell it to the dozens of people who responded to Control,
We litigated that with Jesse. He said none of them deserve to be responded to.
Yeah. And to which I say,
oh, sure. Okay. Okay, Mark.
Hey, I like to think on this show, I've made it very obvious, the Drake enthusiasm. I've never run from that. The Drake report. I've had a segment, but I make it clear that like I am extraordinarily attuned to his music. I don't hide that. So I have conversations. I put that out there so people know that and they know what they're dealing with when they're talking to me about certain things. But we must not be irrational. When my guy does something stupid, I talk about it. And he's been doing stupid stuff for a while, So anyway,